Hi, good night, everyone.
Good night, sister.
It's Donna.
How are you?
I'm good, Pastor Henry. How are you doing? Hi, everyone else.
Good, fine, thanks. Doing good.
Good. I'm not able to turn on my camera just yet. If you just give me a little bit, okay?
Yeah, sure. That's all right. I think Dr. Sutherland is in the same situation, so I'm just waiting on her also.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Good evening, Pastor Henry. Good evening, everybody.
Dr. Sutherland.
How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. I don't know, everybody seemed to be late this evening, so.
Yes, it seems so. I needed to make sure I could get back in and settled. I didn't want to be on the road.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a program done. But we will start with who's here and ask everyone to feel free to chime in, to add their comments. You know, this is our wrap up for 2021. It has been a challenging year for some, but in the midst of it, God has definitely kept us. He has definitely shown up. And even when he was silent, we knew he was there with us. And so we've had some difficult topics to discuss this year, things like sexual harassment, you know, conflict in the home, etc. And the program is definitely about building shatterproof families one brick at a time. We definitely cannot build shatterproof families if we only talk about what is good and what is true and what is, you know, our dream, what we aspire. Yes, the Bible does say to think on good things, but we also have an obligation to address those things that might be difficult, those things that might need correction, etc. So tonight we just want to have a conversation with everyone. It is an open mic, so to speak. We want to hear which topics really stood out, what lessons you've learned. We want to get your feedback on how we can improve for 2022. If you remember, we started this program in the midst of COVID-19 to keep everyone together. So early 2020 in April, it was a program to keep the church community going, you know, and we thought, what are those topics we don't necessarily hear about on a Sunday, but are still very much applicable to us as a Christian community, and how we might be able to influence our wider community. So that's definitely how the program started. And now it's almost a supplementary or complementary program to what we hear on Sunday. So we get the encouragement on a Sunday, we get the teaching, we have the Bible study, but then there are some practical topics that we like to deal with. So I am going to open the mic for everyone to say goodnight. More often than not, you guys hear us speaking. We rarely get to hear you guys, and just share with us what has been good, what you'd like to see in 2022, what lessons you've learned, what things have been reinforced. So we're going to give everyone an opportunity to speak tonight. Please don't let me call on you. So yeah, over to everyone who's joining us thus far. I want to say a special good night to Pastor Griffith, to Pastor Henry, of course, from our host ministry in Trinidad and Tobago, Faith Tabernacle. I want to say thank you to everyone else, Auntie Pauline, dearly faithful participant for Real Talk, Brother Mills, Rhonda. It's always a pleasure to have you. Michelle, good night. Donna obviously is always here and supporting when she can. So good night, everyone. I'm going to open to you. Please feel free.
Good night, everyone. For those I didn't get an opportunity to say good night to, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Pleasant night.
Hi, good night. Good night,
And
Joseph
from me
Griffith here.
also, Wilfred.
Hi.
It's
Hi,
always
Uncle
interesting that we start these things up and people keep their mics shut down. Let me just start by saying that Dr. Sutherland, you made a very interesting point though. Thought you were saying, I said thought because I'm getting old, so the heading. So good. I thought you said that Zoom has come about by default. I guess we were forced into a situation. But did you say that it creates a less threatening environment outside of the church that we can address important practical issues?
Well, not a less stressful environment. These are threatening. Oh, but I think it does. I think, a lot of times when you're at church, there isn't the engagement, right? So it's not like in the middle of a sermon. I feel like I can put up my hand and say, Pastor Henry, Pastor Griffith, Pastor Samuel, Reverend Nathan, I don't understand what you're saying, right? It is customary. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is customary that on a Sunday we sit and we listen. And so what I think, and this is opinion, but I would say Real Talk has provided an opportunity for us to address some of those topics that we would have heard about on a Sunday and really delve deeply into how we walk it out practically as Christians from a biblical standpoint. And, try and understand, for those of us who have not been to seminary school or Bible school, when you hear difficult topics like women in church and, one brother is saying to you, women need to keep their head covered, dress modestly, sit and have no opinion, but someone else saying something else. I feel like a program like Real Talk helps us to understand not just what God is trying to say to us as a church community, but understand as well the times that some of these situations would have happened in. So the cultural context at the point in time, how you don't just, yes, we read the scriptures are God breathed, but sometimes you have to understand what was going on in the society at that point in time. And these are things that unless you're doing Bible study on a particular topic or Bible study on a particular scripture or Bible study on a particular book, you can't really engage. And so I feel like Real Talk gives us, yes, that less threatening opportunity to discuss what we believe, why we believe it, and how we treat with others who don't have similar beliefs. And it gives us an opportunity to have an answer ready for our faith.
Yeah, I think it's less threatening and very useful. You did mention the word or some form of it, of being a complementary. And what the good thing about it is that on the forum, we have not been pushing. We've been actually talking, and the name Whale Talk, we've really been talking some whale talk. And I quite agree. We wonder how well we were, how impactful we have been.
And so hopefully, the quote unquote audience will tell us tonight, have we been real? Are we still brushing the surface? Do you want us to go deeper? This is an opportunity to get your feedback. So for those who said good evening live, we open to you and ask, I'm going to call a name who I am sure would not mind me calling them out. Sister Maria, would you mind giving us some feedback on how you found the program? Has it been real? Can we go deeper? What have you learned? Where do you think we need to improve? What topics would you like to hear about in 2022? Has it been real talk? Has it helped you to build your family, and not just your immediate family, but your church community, your church family, your work family, etc.?
Somehow I knew my name would have been called first, but yes, I accept the challenge, Sister Sasha. I think it has been as real as persons would have allowed it. Some persons still a little bit sheltered and or holding in their real perspective on things. And I think there's always room to dig a little deeper in terms of things like relationship and those areas that relates to the family. I think we definitely can go a little deeper because we've just scratched the surface. A lot of persons, they're shy about opening up, and it's just the beginning of feeling comfortable in that way to be able to. So I think we need to push a little further because it's needed. Very much so. In terms of topics for the new year, I would like to see a little more topics geared towards the youth because we need to keep them engaged. We know that they face a lot of situations they won't really readily come out and share, and egging them on in that direction would cause them to open up and be real, to let us know, their vulnerabilities and the things that they're faced with on a daily basis, whether it's in the schools or in their homes. We need to push some more topics that get to them to get them talking. Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback, Sister Maria. I agree. We had the youth on a few times this year, as much as their time would allow. Obviously, we would have had them at points where they were also doing online schooling and trying to navigate that environment, where they were preparing for exams, also doing extracurricular activities, but still found the time to share with us. And when they did share, boy, did we learn some hard truths, some real truths, and we got a lot of advice in terms of how we better navigate our role as parents, definitely understand the impact that social media has had on them, and in listening to them, seeing them grow, seeing them bloom, hearing their maturity as well. When we think we need to say to them what they need to do at each and every step of the way, hearing them say things like, we can evaluate, and we see the impact that social media has, and being able to bring statistics to show, that there have been suicide rates and that there is, internet bullying or online cyberbullying happening, but they know what their belief system is like. And definitely seeing Chelsea and Renee lead the youth session has been, a phenomenal experience, definitely in the latter part of the year when they joined us, and really taking the reins and saying, okay, we're going to mold how we want these programs to unfold. So definitely, we should definitely pay more attention to the youth next year. So when we started in 2021, we talked about building a family legacy. And Pastor Griffith, I'm going to come back to you because you were on that program. Pastor Henry, I'm also going to ask you to say something about it. We had Dr. Neff as well and Reverend Cave, sharing on that program. Then we had the whole concept of time management and how could we better engage our lives if we plan properly, how we plan our time, how we manage our time, how we allocate our time, how do we, evaluate what is important but not urgent, what might be urgent but not important, etc., and helping to place the different activities into those quadrants so that we make better use of our time. And then we had on February 9th, the youth telling us about social media, and its impact on the youth. And we wrapped up the first quarter of the year with managing the family, building wealth and budgeting, taking care of your mental health and your physical health. So I'm going to open to Pastor Griffith and to Pastor Henry to give some feedback on those topics from Q1 of 2021.
Well, I think that one of the things, let me say that one of the things that we've tried to do with the program that is just a bit outside of our church is that we have sought to get professional people who are professional in particular in certain fields to help us to help families to develop their family lives. Sometimes as pastors, we can give out that much in church. And outside of that, that's it. And so the program is geared to deal with those areas and to talk with those areas, and at the same time to have a corporate body that can address issues. Could you imagine that one Sunday morning I am talking about, want to talk about legacy in church and telling people how to prepare for the wills and, and how much would I know anyway? But on the program, we had two professionals, two lawyers. They came in, they helped us. We had a financial person to come in and help us in those areas. So that's basically what we are trying to do. And we are hoping to reinforce that in 2022 as we go forward and to build on what we have started. So basically, that's it. That's how I'm seeing us moving forward. One of the things that I am not sure is whether or not how much people were able to grasp the programs, whether some of the language, some of the subjects that we have dealt with, whether they were a bit beyond, individuals' understanding and how we need to break it down, because, we have a varying audience. Not everybody is going to be able to grasp the material as others would. And so back of my head, what is churning in the back of my head, how do we reach those who probably would not be able to understand the language of the professionals and the jargons of the professionals and such like? That's what I'm thinking about. So feedback on that area would be grateful for me to help me to see how we can go forward.
Hello, everyone. Permission, Dr. Sutherland, to just jump in here. I just would like to make some general comments and then a suggestion for Pastor Henry and your team. First of all, I just like to say that I've really been blessed. I know I haven't been on as many because, life and work happens, but I've really been blessed to have logged on to some of the sessions and actually been a part of some of the sessions. I don't think that any session that I attended, I came away from not learning something new. I really like that the young people were involved. Those are the sessions that really, really impressed me. And I was very proud of the young people, how they handled themselves, as Dr. Sutherland was saying. And we learned for myself, I learned a lot from them, because sometimes we don't give them a safe platform by which to, launch their ideas. And I think you saw the development and the progress from program to program. Because when I heard the first program, they were a little nervous and unsure. And then you saw them get bolder with each session and bring more information to the table. And I saw a progression of even the amount of research they did, because it was obvious in how they presented themselves. So I know that a lot more work was going on in the background every time they were getting ready to do another session. And that was extremely impressive as well. And to the point that Maria was making in terms of the young people, I know that sometimes they're a little reluctant to say something, but as they come onto the program and they see people expressing themselves a little more, I think they start to get more comfortable. I think some of the audience as well, because in some of the ones I attended, I saw a lot more people writing in the chat. So those are the things I notice about comfort with interaction. So they may not have turned on their mics, they may not have turned on their camera, but you saw their response and their interaction and their curiosity, and they wanted this clarified. And then I think Pastor, this is just my opinion, no offense to Pastor Henry or Pastor Griffith, but they challenged. Sometimes I felt like, I wonder if Pastor Griffith or Pastor Henry put that comment in the chat just to be, I don't even want to say devil's advocate, because that's not what I meant, but you know what I mean. Just to provoke some thought. And I thought that was really good, because you got varying responses, and because there was always such a wide range or category of people on the call. It wasn't just geared to like, okay, so when we have parent-teachers meetings, we know that parents on the call. When we have work-related meetings, we know that there are lawyers on the call, or doctors on the call, or engineers on the call. So because we have started to grow in terms of who joins in, we had a wide variety of thought and perspective. And I like that, even from the questions, because even from the questions, you saw people, oh, that's what they're thinking about. And so that would have been the takeaway when you all write your notes and you do your debriefing, to say, well, we got that question, so probably we can, deal with that area a little more from the questions. So even from some of the questions you would have had, you can formulate the kind of things you thought, would be important to touch on in 2022. And Pastor Henry, you were just saying, well, how do we respond to people who don't understand? I know how my debriefing session went, and I know we do takeaways, we do what we can address more, but I don't know what you all think of kind of like I don't know how many of their email addresses you have. I don't know if they'd be responsive to that, in terms of just asking people what they thought, or if they understood. I don't know if people have a lot of time to respond to emails, but I'm just thinking, how do we re-engage people who may have left with some of their questions unanswered because the time ran out, because I know that there was a limited time in which we could do something. So how do you reach out to them after you've had a particular number of people come on the call? I don't want to just go on and on and on, but those are just some of my thoughts. Just as when people come to church and, they give their lives to Christ, we always go back and say, well, how are you doing? You take their names, you take their numbers, you take their email addresses, and somebody in the church gets back to them. So I was wondering what you thought about that, just asking them, even if they don't want to put it in the chat, what's their email address? What's their number? Are you willing to share your number? Can we get back to you on something that you may not have understood? So those are just my general suggestions. And in as much as I did not attend all, I have found these programs to be extremely helpful. And I am really, really looking forward to, joining some in 2022. So that was my thesis, all said in less than 10 minutes. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Donna, thank you. Thank you. One of the comments you made, in terms of creating a comfortable space or safe space for people to comment, I think that's very important. I think we need to reiterate in 2022, and those persons who are accustomed to the program will know that by now, is that there's no judgment in this space. That you come and we can have different opinions, we can have different points of view, and no one is going to think any less of anyone on the program. And definitely we want to continue that in 2022, a safe space where people can come, share and learn, and yes, be thought-provoking. It was so funny to hear you say, no offense, Pastor Henry and Pastor Griffith, but they do just that. you look at the question sometimes and you think, well, I would not have thought about that. What are they thinking when they pose a particular question or comment? And I think that's something that we should continue into 2022. I know I have been challenged to change my perspective on a lot of things. When we talk about persons who are different to us, it's always easy to converse with people who share similar beliefs with you, and sometimes even the persons on the opposite end of the spectrum, you can say, yeah, okay, they're different, and you love them as they are, but you're hoping to win them over to your side. But then there are people who have some very valid differences of opinion, and I have learned a lot, when we spoke about things like how the church should deal with the LGBTQ community, for example. Should the church be speaking about these things? And I was of the opinion that we should. We should be out there. We should be speaking. And, when we do our debrief and you hear, well, if the theme is about building shatterproof families and some things are not building the unity in church, then is it something that you really want to, not that you don't want to address it, but do you want to create more division within the church? And I think for me, that was the biggest takeaway, one of the biggest takeaways, and it continues to be a big takeaway in this program. In everything that we do, we have to ensure we build unity. And it doesn't mean not having a difference of opinion. It doesn't mean, quote unquote, drinking the Kool-Aid. It doesn't mean being quiet if you have a different perspective on something, but I think it tells us how we address differences within the church community, because if God wanted everybody to just adhere to his words similarly, or, to express themselves similarly, we'd all be the same. But he's given us that diversity for a reason, So, one of the biggest takeaways has been for me that this program, it's not just to have real talk for having real talk's sake, right? We're not another talk show where people just come and they say, this is my opinion and these are the stats to back it up. And then at the end of it, you've learned nothing. It is about building those shatterproof families one brick at a time, realistically. And in so doing, ensuring that the unity of the church body, I'm not talking about the Pentecostals or only the Catholics, but of Christ's church body remains. So thank you, Donna. Brother Wilfred, would you like to join in? Would you like to offer a comment? And I see that I think Reynald just joined, so I'm definitely going to pose a question to him after Brother Wilfred contributes. But Wilfred, he's still there. His video was on just now, but perhaps he stepped away. So we're asking everybody this evening to have a reflection about the topics, a reflection on the topics that we've covered in 2021. We just did Q1. When we started in Q2, we started talking about things like the role of the church in family life, too far left is right, estate planning, the church's approach to the LGBTQI community. We went back to single as a whole number. It was one of our big topics in 2020. The dangers of the internet, the virtue of forgiveness in a relationship. And so we're reflecting on 2021, looking at what we did well, what are the biggest takeaways, the biggest lessons that we would have learned as a community, and what we can do in 2022. Up the mic, it is open mic night, and I'm going to ask Reynald or Celia if they would be willing to contribute this evening and let us know what are their thoughts on the program. Rhonda, if you are nearby, I'm probably going to come to you next. So feel free, everybody. It is, again, a safe space. We really want to hear you. Feel free to contribute.
Hi, good night.
Hi.
Good night to all. You with your captivating smile. It's nice having you as host again. Well, I joined in a little late. All right, but I just got a gist of what you were saying with the different topics that were covered, this year, and all the topics were on point. All the topics were relevant, vital. Um, one of the topics that we had covered was, the church and the LBGT. How do we treat with them, and that was a sort of controversial, I would say, in terms of how we deal with the LBGT community. I was one who had a different view as to how we deal with the LBGT, and I would not go back there, but my opinion still stands. What I find very informative too was the topic that we had covered concerning I can't remember the name of the topic, but it was concerning issues where we dealt with the wills and these different legal matters, concerning leaving inheritance and whatnot. To
Estate
me, that
planning.
was one of the more informative ones that we had done. I think we had a encore for that one where we did another session with it. So that was really informative. Not saying that none of the others weren't, because they were all, I would say, really relevant, intriguing, very informative. What I find was very apt to is the different the panelists that you all got, right? I can see that time was really taken to select panelists that were well informed and they were well able to answer whatever questions that were posted to them. So I think all in all, a fantastic job was done, and I'm looking forward to what you all have planned next year. What I think though, that we on the outside at some point can be given the opportunity to suggest, what topics that we would like. So if it is like we give a host, because different people would have different things that we'd want to discuss. And then you all can always, go through it and see which ones would make more sense, at whatever time. But all in all, thumbs up. You all have done a fantastic job and can't wait for 2022. Amen.
Amen. Can I ask you to offer? Is there anything that comes to the top of your mind when you think of what can be done in 2022, if you're willing to right now, brother and all? Because this is that open mic where you give us the feedback, good, bad, and indifferent, so that we can regroup and see what we can build on, what we can improve. I'm making notes, but what topics would you like to see? No topic is taboo, but if you would give us a few things that you'd like to hear in 2022.
All right, one topic at the top of my head that I would have liked discussed was the whole topic concerning COVID and the church. The church's position concerning COVID. That's concerning the vaccine, because in Trinidad here, there's a sort of mixed opinion as to the attendance in church, because I would say there's about 50%, a little more than 50% of the population have taken the vaccine. It's almost 50%. And you have that same sort of percentage in the church, where you have some of the leaders of the church, the pastors and whatnot, who are advocating for the vaccine. And then you have other pastors who are against the vaccine. So there's a sort of mixed sort of notion as to, whether you should take the vaccine or not. And one pastor in particular, one of the well-known pastors in Trinidad here, had made a statement that he would not allow any unvaccinated members in the church because he see a conflict of interest, a sort of spiritual battle, and, was sort of taken aback by that. So I just thought that it's a relevant topic that we can discuss because COVID is still with us and we still have all the drawbacks concerning vaccinated, unvaccinated. I see it as, let me see, there's a word that I'd use, discrimination, right? So some people might find it's a strong word where some people are being discriminated against. All right, so I just think that it's a topic that we can at least consider to have for the new year. And on going forward, I can always think of other things, but that is just the one that comes to mind.
Can I ask a question? Because I think the subject is interesting, but Brother, in as much as you have a position on it, on the subject, if we discuss this subject, would you be willing to change your position?
Of course, I will be willing to change my position if the facts that are presented are ones that would cause me to change my position.
Okay, so then the problem with that is the problem with that is finding the proper virologists to come on the program. I don't think we have a lot in the Caribbean. That's the problem. I don't know of any. But if we are going to do that, the only people that I'm going to bring to discuss a subject like that will be virologists.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be foolish to go to have a toothache, and because your friend is, or to have it'd be foolish to have a heart problem, and because your friend is a dentist, you go to you go to your friend to get advice. Am I not right?
I hear you.
Yeah, good.
But thank you for the feedback, Reynolds. And I would say to you, when you think about COVID, even now and the stipulations to get to certain locations and who needs to have a vaccine to travel, etc. These are things that people want to speak about. But I do agree with Pastor Henry, because if we just sit down and talk about it, it would just be our opinion, and none of us would have studied to be able to give the same amount of information. And there's a lot of misinformation out there that we can't debunk because we haven't done the research. But it is a topic that, given the proper expertise, would be good to speak about, and not just to hear what pastors have to say, but what scientists have to say as well. So we're not discounting that the topic is a very good one. But in the similar way that you've said, we found the expertise for particular topics to speak about things like estate planning. It would be remiss of us to just bring any person who's not experienced to speak about COVID-19 and the vaccine and who should get it and who shouldn't get it, etc. Brother Wilfred, are you in a position to give your feedback on the program?
Yeah, I am here really to give appreciation to to all the panelists, because I'm, I try to follow the program very closely, and try to be there, at most times, that is, So I'm here really to give appreciation because and what I'm looking at really is that I'm looking at how you all panelists, what you all have been doing really is giving back out of what God has blessed you all with. You all took this time to give back, take time to to explain. I wrote down a couple of things, and Pastor Henry mentioned just a few words in between there for me as well. Like what have we understood of the many programs that passed. And I must say that if we had to pay for this information that you all had granted unto us, really, it would have really cost us quite a lot, because I think you all really did a wonderful job. One that we mightn't be able to repay you all. That's the thing, But giving back to the journey of the Father's work, really, and most of all, you all remember to give back and to help us along the way, So I am just here to appreciate all that has been done so far, and I'm saying thanks. I'm just saying thanks.
Thank you, Brother Wilfred. Okay, we're opening it up. Anyone else wants to contribute before we move into Q3?
Hi, good night to everyone. This is Sister Janice.
Hi, Sister Janice. Go ahead.
First to begin, good night to everyone. To you, Sister Sasha, Pastor Henry, Pastor Griffith, and whoever else is on the program. I want to say I was truly blessed with all the different topics that we discussed, well, from last year into this year. There are a couple that stood out for me, which were like the estate planning and the dangers of the internet, mental health, and when the youths were on, they impressed me a whole lot because I learned a lot from them, so I just want to say thanks to Pastor Henry and whoever else came up with the idea of having the real talk, because it was truly real talk. So thank you all very much for those topics. Into the new year, as someone said before, I would like to see a little more of the youths. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. So into Q3, we had women in leadership roles in the church family, the virtue of forgiveness, estate planning too, as we heard earlier. That was really something huge. It was very practical. You wouldn't necessarily hear a sermon on estate planning per se. It doesn't mean that the Bible doesn't speak to it. When you hear of all the legacies and how you leave for your children's children, etc., they're biblical principles, but then the practicality of how you work it out in society was addressed. Parents' role in the education system, the Bible and compulsive behaviors, and then the youth and the church. And then we had a Q&A session. In Q4, we addressed topics like sexual harassment. We addressed navigating the digital world and our families, mental wellness, phobia and myths, dealing with grief, and then bridging family rifts, how we came full circle to restoration. And so tonight we are doing an open mic. We are doing the wrap-up social where we hear from you guys, where we hear how you've been blessed, but more so what topics you would like to hear in 2022. And thank you to those who've contributed so far. There are a few other persons on the chat, and I really don't want to call anybody else's name, but I want to give you an opportunity to contribute and to say what you expect for 2022. Pastor Griffith, I'm going to come back to you. Having wrapped up 2021, what do you think is perhaps one of your biggest takeaways from this season of Real Talk?
I think you have one person's mic unmuted as Sister Rhonda. So probably.
Sure, go ahead, Sister Rhonda.
Hi, good night, everyone. Good night. I really enjoyed this Real Talk session so much, especially when the youths go on. Really enjoy them. At times I'll be like, I wonder what the youths gonna talk about, how they're gonna, present themselves. And I was so shocked in the way, they presented they made their statements and how they brought across their questions and their answers. So, I was really impressed with them. Also, we'd like them to be on a little more often also. They were a big hit to everyone. They really were a big hit to everyone. So I really like them to be on as much as they can. So I know it's schooling and everything. And also a topic I would like you all to touch on, because I can't remember if we did that topic, or probably have a night for singles, probably a night for the females and another night for the men, because something that we have singles that would want to talk, female singles want to talk, and they would want to talk because the men there, and probably vice versa, especially single and being a Christian. Have so much of temptation out there sexually, spiritually, so much things going on there where we are being a single Christian is concerned, especially where the temptation is concerned. So I just would like you all to probably have a panel for just singles a night. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Rhonda, for giving us your feedback.
Yes.
I see both Pastor Griffith and Pastor Henry smiling. So I'm going to open it to see if they want to respond. But then, Pastor Griffith, I'm going to come back to you and ask what has been one of the biggest takeaways for you in 2021? So.
Just to answer the question, the sister just ended, or to comment on that, I'm not exactly clear as to whether she was in fact saying that we should have a closed session for only singles to visit, whether you wanted to discuss the subject about singles with singles on the panel. I would glad if she would clarify exactly what she's here asking for.
Yes, Pastor Griffith, just singles. That night, we're just going to have a singles night only, whether it be females and males on another night. Singles only.
You mean I can't come? So I can't come?
The panelists are going to be the exceptions.
Oh. You mean, no. No, what I meant is I am married. Would I be able to come online with you?
Once you're one of the panelists.
Oh, so I got you covered. So you exclude, good, got it.
Right. But if they want you to come to talk specifically about something, well, then you're welcome.
Understand your point.
Okay.
All right. So before Pastor Griffith tells us about his takeaway in 2021, I just want to acknowledge Reverend Boyce. Thank you for being here this evening on our open mic, Real Talk Family Life. We're just talking openly about 2021, some of the topics we would have covered. We went through the entire year, and we're basically talking about takeaways, biggest lessons learned, and what we can expect for 2022, what topics our participants would like to hear about in 2022, and just, really reflecting on what 2021 Real Talk has been for us. So, Pastor Griffith, over to you. Biggest takeaway. You're not getting a read from responding.
No problem. My takeaway, I'm not going to. My statement is going to be more generalized, and it is I think we are developing, and it's one of the things about when we are placed in situations that we don't like, we are forced to remember that necessity is a matter of invention. And if we could remember that, we would appreciate how new ideas and how improvement come about because of crises or situations that we find ourselves in. And I enjoy this program on several fronts. One, you get to have that discussion with a number of people, serious discussion. You were forced to look into subjects that you otherwise didn't find time to look into. You heard different views. Yes, we varied, and we will probably always vary in some. We will not. I don't think we necessarily come on this forum to try to get us to agree or to convert. I don't know if there's any effort on this program to convert. I also appreciate the fact that it is rather interdenominational, and we're able to come on board from all over the world, wherever we are. All right. And I think that all these things have add up to the benefits of the program that we have here. I also asked myself, why would we necessarily want to why would I necessarily want to go at our church and to do a subject that is being handled here, unless that I felt that enough of my people were not there and we also need to deal with it? Why do we have to reinvent the wheel? And like I said, I do not know that Pastor Henry is about, in this program, converting us to the church that he has in Trinidad. There's nothing that says that. So would that more of us would appreciate the the word ecumenical, whatever approach that we have taken, into the denominational to address these subjects. But Reynald, when we call him again, Reynald, yeah, he's always been maybe like me, one of these guys who cause a lot of discussion and heat, right? But he did put an interesting subject there that he started off by suggesting the idea of the 50-50 position. He mentioned 50-50 position, where some pastors seem to be on one hard front, others seem to be in between or whatever. But I asked myself, really, if within my church context, if I have sufficiently help those who have varying views. We have been, for example, saying that we need to be able to properly represent allow the homosexuals to air themselves and to represent themselves, and I am wondering if we have sufficiently given sufficient forum to others who might have a different view, even in the case of COVID. I know that will all be controversial, but that is one that I need to also say. But I think the forum, and I like the basis that we started earlier, or the area we had when we discussed the matter of legacy. And if we are keeping it in the context of family, the truth about it is that
You and Pastor Griffith, I think is...
No, his screen is, his screen is frozen. So while we wait on him, Pastor Henry, I'm going to ask you a reflective question. Throughout the year, we've discussed all these different topics. When we pose the question, for example, how can we use the knowledge we gain from this experience in the future? What comes to mind? I know what comes to mind for me, but for those listening, and we talk about changing views or changing perceptions. How do we use the knowledge we gain from our 2021 experience in the future?
One of the things that trouble me with knowledge is that is the application. It's the application. So we quote the Romans 12 passage ever so often, that be renewed in your mind, have a different way of thinking. And oftentimes you bring new ideas, you bring new thoughts to the fore, and people say, I sticking with my idea. And so that is what I pray for, and I know this is the work of the Holy Spirit, and I know it took Israel 40 years to be renewed in their mind, and all of them had to die in the wilderness except a couple in order to understand what God was trying to say to them. I know for Peter, it took a lifetime for him to understand that the kingdom that Jesus spoke about had nothing to do with the Israeli kingdom that he wanted to restore. So I understand all of that, but it's aggravating, if you want to put it that way. It's like when something comes to you and it's, yeah, this is it, and I need to make some changes here. I need to get this out because I need to help people to see that we need to make some changes here. And then somebody say that, listen, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. I'm wondering how do we understand the scriptures? Where do we understand? How do we understand the Holy Spirit? When he comes, he is going to teach us. And he doesn't give us everything every day. He gives us in pieces so that we can learn step by step. And when we get to a point and we stop growing because we are not taking in information, because to me, spiritual growth is dependent on the information that you have. It depends on the application of the information that you have. And when you stop, if you don't take in the information, you can't apply it. And so we become retarded and we don't even realize it. That's my frustration. But my joy is to see those who apply the knowledge, to see them grow, and to see, you hear they talk about the improvement in their family lives, the better relationships that they're having. That is my joy. That is my what I live for.
Okay, Pastor Griffith is back with us. Pastor Griffith, do you wanna?
Yeah, I was stressing the point of legacy, and I think it will remain a foundation, I think, to our program on family life, because why do we exist as a family, and what is it that we want to continue or to live on? So I think that the idea of legacy is extremely important. And I was saying that I had a funeral here just a few days ago, and coming out of that, I believe there's a baptism coming up tomorrow, and I believe I'm declaring it is. And here is a mother who came out from young, she raised her children, and she tried to get them to the Lord. One daughter quickly at 14 or thereabout got converted. Mommy came over from being a Catholic, and she became maybe evangelical. And forevermore, she was trying to get her children saved. She taught them how to pray, etc., etc. And I'm hearing now these adult children are saying, Mommy's death ain't gone for nothing, and I want to get baptized. I ready now, and it did something to me, because I'm talking to my son in particular. I speak about the older one, and he says to me several times, you think I ain't listening, and it's all about what we pass on. And I said before that I look and I realize how even within families, like I'm in engineering, right? And if you look back to my children, you can tell them, but they're falling. And in every instance, you find it happening. So even within the context of church or whatever we do, I think that the idea of legacy and family is something that is very important, that we have embraced here. And I would trust that going forward, that the word legacy will
I think we've lost.
I think
Pastor Griffith.
it was finished.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You have
So
Pastor Voice.
Reverend Voice, do you mind if we bring you in on the conversation this evening? We're just reflecting and thinking about the biggest lessons that we've learned this year, how we move forward in 2022. And from listening to both Pastor Henry and Pastor Griffith, just now I'm thinking about when you do reflection, there's a level of self-awareness that comes from the experience, right? From hearing other people speak about a similar topic and realizing that everybody doesn't think like you. I'm also thinking that as you think through the process, you see room for self-improvement, whether that is being open to other people's ideas or thinking that maybe I was a bit closed-minded in one instance, or perhaps, I can do some more to better represent Christ in another area for somebody who's thinking is totally contradictory to what God wants us to do. And then when we learn from the experience, there's a kind of empowerment that comes from it, that I am a better person. So what are your thoughts on Real Talk and this whole idea that, we want to become empowered and we want to move each other to be better Christians, better representations of Christ on earth? You need to unmute your mic. Still muted. Okay, there we go.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland. And good night, Bishop Henry. That's the thing between us, okay? Yeah, I'm really tired. I've been at it all day. I have only been part of 2 sessions. And for me, they were excitable sessions. And honestly, I think I benefited more than those who listened to me. And my reason for saying that is that the area of service that I'm involved in, I'm always giving out. And it is not in the area of family and family and family. It is to men and women in the whole area of leadership, development, management, and theological processes, etc., etc. So my good friend decided that he's going to push me in the fire. And he kept fanning the fire and wouldn't let go of me. And honestly, I didn't have the time. But as God would allow it, my elder sister decided to go to heaven and I had to get into Barbados. My brother could not accommodate me. So my friend said, that's not a problem, come by me. Not knowing that he had something up his sleeve. Now I got Emmy here. I can push him in the Anyhow, that's between us. We're still friends. Now, my takeaway from the 2 sessions that I've attended or participated in, one, I was able to renew acquaintances, persons that I had known for years and I had not seen, so it afforded me that opportunity. The
Is it
next,
my
hello?
yeah,
We can
we are
still
hearing
hear
you.
you.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
we're with you.
Okay, yeah. Secondly, I'm talking about my takeaways, how I benefited, okay? I enjoyed hearing the feedback from the listeners and what it meant to them. And I thought that I would share my personal experiences to dovetail it into the answers that I gave. And to my wonder and amazement, it seems like that helped the audience to be a part of what I was saying, and they benefited. However, for me as a takeaway, it stretched my mind and kicked me out of my sociological comfort zone. I'd grown so accustomed to talking theology, teaching it, and the Greek word Sophia, meaning from which you get wisdom, or you can also get fear. So it kicked me out of that comfort zone. And I had to, more or less, it forced me to research the topic that was assigned to me and come prepared to provide relevant answers to real questions. And that is a takeaway for me. Another takeaway, as I said, I think I benefited more than maybe those in the audience. It created for me a greater reliance upon the Holy Spirit in my whole thinking, in how I can use as a theologian and bring the Bible alive and situations to people who have real needs. And it afforded me the opportunity to make those applications of scripture within context, not only of the scripture, to bring it home to people with real needs from a biblical perspective. I think therefore that if I had to grade Real Talk, I would give it an A+. I would give Reverend Anthony Henry A double plus for his innovativeness. And now, as a lecturer, I don't give away marks. You have to work for it. So when I tell you that, you get an A plus. You really get it. That's it.
The prophet's room is still available, sir.
All right. Yeah. I really can't give the assurance that I'll be on at every time, because looking at my schedule, even next year, it's really fluffed up already. But I'll see how I can fit it.
Yes. Yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you. I see Donna's hand is up.
Hello, Donna.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
For some reason, I got knocked off. But anyway, I just wanted to log back in and tell everybody all the best for the Christmas season. I need to just excuse myself now, but I didn't want to just, impolitely just not come back and say bye to everyone. And what a blessing this program has been, as I said before. So thank you, everyone. God's richest blessings for the end of this year and into 2022. And I just wanted to wish everybody the best.
Thank you. Same to you, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Look forward to hearing from you in 2022, and all the best to you for the new year.
Same to you. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Please be safe.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yes,
all right. Bye-bye.
Okay, I see Renee is actually on with us this evening. Renee, I'm not sure if you're in a position to speak. If you are, please feel free. We were speaking about 2021 and reflecting, and there has been a lot of kudos for the youth panel. If you're willing and able to tell us, some of your reflections on the program this year, some of the takeaways, and what topics you'd like to see in 2021. I also see Valicia is there. Auntie Pauline is still there. Michelle, are you able to say anything? Celia, are you able to say something? Hazel and Anne. So we do have a few persons who are on with us this evening. We're talking about how we move forward with the program, what topics you would like to hear. We're also reflecting on what transpired this year.
Hi, good night, everyone. I would like to thank you all for the discussions that we would have had during 2021. They were very informative. And, even though we may tend to look at things from a spiritual point of view, we do live in a world where lots of things are going on. So I really welcome the fact that we could have had a balance between the two. And I think for 2022, I can't think of a topic right now that I would like to expand on, because it's very dynamic. What's happening in life now is very dynamic, and maybe we need to do it on a case by case. As things evolve, then we're going to speak about it. But I was very satisfied with the topics that were covered for 2021. So I would like to thank you all, and I'm looking forward, God's willing, to even more information and more discussions, more participation, to open up our minds as believers. So I'm really grateful. And I look forward to seeing everyone in 2022, and God's blessings to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Go ahead now.
Good night. This is Hazel. I find that the topics were very interesting, and I think that this is what the church really needs. I don't think that enough of it is going on in the church, because we need more and more discussion about everyday life. And a lot of times as Christians, I think we shy away from real life issues. These programs, I think sometimes they touch the surface, And you know, when we read the word said very clear, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And if we, the church, Christians, the brethren, would listen to the programs, I think that it would open up our understanding to a lot of what is going on around us and make us aware. So I think that it is a good path that have been chosen for the church. And I think that more people need to, even if they don't have an input, listen and see what they can take away for themselves and maybe for families. And this is what is going to help the church to grow. The knowledge that others within the church have that they can share. So I really appreciate the sessions. I wasn't able to be in on all of them, but I thought that they were enlightening and they are very, very relevant for the time that we are living in. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. Go ahead, Renee.
Hi, everyone. I'll make this quick because I'm still working. I took a couple hours off. So I'm still in the midst of things, but I would say it's been a very rewarding time just listening into the various sessions. I wasn't able to listen to all of them, but the ones that I did attend were very enlightening and thought-provoking. And I did like that there were various perspectives on the same issue. And even if I didn't totally agree, it was good to also hear different perspectives. At this time, I'm not sure if I can think of any specific topic that should be done next year. I feel like this year was quite varied in like the various topics that were highlighted, but maybe we may have opportunities for more part twos. And that might be something. So I know I'm gonna have to think a little bit more on what topics I think we can go back to, but overall they were very helpful.
Thank you. Thanks for your feedback, Renee. And again, I just want to say you guys did a fantastic job in 2021. I know you guys were busy with exams and with school, and there was a lot of pressure. But when you when you did present, you know, it was enlightening and eye-opening for the adults to hear your perspective and to hear your thoughts and to see that, you know, what has been poured in was poured out exponentially from you guys, to hear you articulate yourselves, to hear you articulate your perspectives on social media or the role of parents or the role of family in your lives, etc. We were really blessed by it. The general feedback is that we want more of the youth in 2022, and we definitely do. So I'm just saying in advance, pencil us in because we really want to hear from you guys a lot more in 2022. It is building shatterproof families one brick at a time, and you don't do that with the adults alone. Everybody has to be involved and everybody has a part to play. Yvonne?
Thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
Yes. Yes. Yvonne, are you there? Yvonne was a panelist on our program. I don't know if you want to say a few words to everyone. We're rounding the time. It's 7:46. Well, I'm sorry, 7:46 here, 8:46 in the Eastern Caribbean. So we are going to start wrapping up shortly, but we're just doing our reflections on the 2021 program. While we wait on other persons to jump in, one of the other takeaways I got, you know, Reverend Boyce talked about him benefiting more from hearing different perspectives and from participating in the program than from actually being a panelist. And again, you know, when we listen, the actual program ends at 9 p.m. And so we sign off the live stream. But when you stick around, we think that the participants don't want to speak. But when those mics open, it's almost like we have part 2 of the program at the end of the session. And, you really get to hear what people are thinking. I believe Yvonne is ready to go. So Yvonne, I'm going to yield to you.
Okay. Good evening to everybody. Hi to the panelists and those who participated in the audience and those who gave feedback. I think the sessions were very enlightening. I think they were very informative. The time that I actually participated, I was basically forced to come out of my comfort zone. I don't particularly like being in the spotlight, but of course, with Pastor Henry, you never know when he's going to push you forward, like he did many, many years ago when I was about 16 years old. I think the last time I did any kind of a public speaking was when I graduated from Extension Bible School, and I had to, give a talk or give a speech on modern day Israel in the light of biblical prophecy. And that was, I think, the last time that I really presented or spoke. And I wasn't really anxious to do that. But in the process of studying and listening, I have learned quite a lot. And I just want to congratulate the panelists for the various topics. I was really enlightened. And also the youths, I was very, very impressed with the presentations that they made and the maturity and the control of the topics that were discussed. And I just wanted to say thanks again to Pastor Henry and the rest of the panelists. I really do not have any suggestions right now for next year, but I'm definitely looking forward to being a part of the program. God bless you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have been blessed to have you. And listen, when you say you're looking forward to being a part of the program, don't say those words lightly, because believe
I could be an audience, you know this.
Somebody's gonna call and say, so Sister Yvonne, you remember when you said, yeah, you never know. So whatever other areas of expertise, we just might call you and ask you to return. Let's see who else is here. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we just really appreciate everybody giving their feedback this evening. I do look forward to 2022, having some more discussions on what we can do as a church community to help not just build our own community, but the extended community, the ones who really need and we don't say the ones who really need Christ, because we all need him, but who we consider to be the lost, and how we show up for them and show them that there is complete freedom in Christ, complete freedom in following his guidelines for our lives and just having him take the wheel. So I'm going to come back to Pastor Henry, Pastor Griffith, and Reverend Boyce. Going forward, if there was one thing you can change about Real Talk, or about the way we engage, not just with our community, but with the public, what would that be?
Strange enough, I was here thinking that I should say something to my friend, that we should not keep this secret to ourselves. Maybe we need to find a way to move away from just a virtual platform into a real broadcasting platform, and allow not maybe Barbados and by extension other islands in the Caribbean who are able to link up to whatever radio frequency to join into some of the conversations. When you listen to a lot of what is said over the airwaves, it goes contra to what the Word of God says. And very often, some of the men of the cross are the proponents and the pushers of this strange talk, which seems to lead people away in a different direction. And I think that what we have is so very rich. We could explore a possibility of sharing it outside of our circle of influence. And I think since we have a very good cadre of young people, there could very well be the vanguard of doing this. There could be the paraders. We're having a parade where that they're the ones leading the pack and engaging other youths so that we could stretch ourselves into their lives and give good advice when and how and where needed. I'm still putting the thought together, so that's right. And I see you like that because you're smiling with me.
I do. And the thing is, in one of our debrief sessions, we had said perhaps invite Renee to join the adult panel, but I love your idea even better. How about the youth do the program? And I think Pastor Henry had said it before, the idea of having the youth run it, and then you have the quote unquote adults join to support. And I think there's a place for both, but I do like that idea because as a family, it's not you go to your bedroom as a young person and then join only at dinner, right? We do life together. So I'm hearing you and I'm thinking as we talk and as we engage and as we hear different perspectives, we find ways of making the program a lot better and perhaps more enticing to others to listen in. People may not want to hear us, but if you want to hear Renee or Kayla or Javon, or Renelle or Chelsea, you're going to listen in. And then you just might hear one of us because we're on that panel with them. And then, of course, the other topic I think would be fantastic because it is about having a biblical worldview is what I would have said to you, Pastor Griffith, Pastor Henry, and Reverend Nathan, having our church leaders sit down and have candid conversations. And we just hear your perspectives on different things that affect us as a church community. I remember joining the debrief session with you guys and just sitting there and thinking, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be great to just listen to this a lot of times and just hear your perspectives on every day. Pastor Griffith is shaking his head no, but I'm telling you, other people, if they hear y'all, they're gonna side with me and say, once a quarter, it would just be good to hear our leaders not preach, but discuss topics, just like how we're here thinking about 2022 and what do we do moving forward, what's happening in the world, and to hear the teachings of Paul or to hear the examples that are pulled to articulate a particular perspective. So I am 210% with you, Reverend Voice, on that. Pastor Henry, Pastor Griffith.
I take note of Brother Boyce's comments, and where I think he said that his life has been tied up in the theological stuff. And in my Bible study, I've been saying recently that we begin to looking at the book of Nehemiah, and I said to them, my intention is not to be all the theological, trying to understand all the history of Nehemiah. We want to run through the Bible of the book of Nehemiah, and we want to practically take out. Yet we're going to introduce little ideas about outlining and things slowly, but let's deal with the weird issues. And our brother Boyce said, but it was a whole different affair when he came back here. And he began to touch the ground again, and I've been asking myself, are we not teaching too much theology? I know that may be controversial now, to the point that we are not relating sufficiently. And I've been asking myself, maybe we might need to preach less theology, I don't think you understand what I'm saying, and to make it so relevant. I want to pause on that.
I am.
Before you go, Pastor Henry, I think that's the problem, you know, that we preach too much. I have been encouraging my students not to preach.
Mhm.
I've been telling them to get the gift of teaching. And instead of every Sunday having a different topic, create an environment where people become thirsty to hear the word being taught. So you take a subject matter and you work with it for a month or two, and at the end of that period, every member of your congregation should be able to restate in their own words the teaching that they learned. I think that we would have a better and a well or more grounded person in Christ who would be better able to live out the Christ life
Is what we want.
and would not be ashamed to share their faith. And I'm using your phrase, I pause there. I pause.
It's what we want. It's what we want.
Yeah, Pastor Henry.
Yeah, Pastor Henry, I'm going to ask you to just wrap up because it's already
it's almost
58, would you believe?
So on the note, Pastor Boyce, for years at Faith Tabernacle, we carried a theme for 1 year.
Very good.
1 year. So that we covered that particular theme. The sign was there. When you came into the church, you saw it. We have now we're trying to do a quarter now. So as to give more people the opportunity to study, because after 3 months, people felt, if I have anything more to say on this. So to give people a little more opportunity to get into some more things. But for the program, you did mention, Pastor Boyce, about a regional something. One of the things that Zoom has allowed us is that we can be on television, we can interact, and it is like $200 for 100 slots, 100 devices per year. Now, television fees are going to be a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a package where you can do up to 1,000 devices. It costs a little bit more, but you can do up to 1,000 devices. So I would think for something regional, we can go there. And listen, there are a lot of things in my head. First, let me just drop a few of them. I am thinking that from some of our programs that we have here, we need to do some little, probably 10-minute programs so that we can have them on YouTube or some of these other platforms that a person can go in. Instead of looking at the whole video, they can get the gist of a program and go in for 10 minutes and look at a video and have an understanding. Or if not, if we have to extend it, you probably have 4 or 5 videos in a series, 10 minutes each, so that the person can go in, take 10 minutes, look, and so on. So that's one of the areas of teaching that I'm looking at in getting the message out. One of the other areas I'm thinking with something like Zoom, with the sort of collaboration with pastors and what have you around, we should be able to set up a room or several rooms that you can set them up in Zoom, where we can give to the public for people who need counseling and have a counselor available. If they just have to ask a person to give 1 hour of their time per day. And so that somebody who has a problem, they can come on and dial in and have somebody there just to talk with them for, half an hour, an hour, as the case may be. But that's one of the areas I'm thinking about with this whole platform, to be able to minister and to reach people. And so sometimes I think that is probably a part of my bipolar disease, why I get all these ideas and what have you and so on. Why I don't suffer from the depression, that's the problem. But all of these things do come crash into my head at times.
They still have polling in Barbados?
If they still have?
Polar,
Yes.
they still?
Is it Polar?
Yeah, it's something like
Popsicle?
ice. Yeah,
Popsicle. Yeah, you
yeah.
don't got Paula do all things for the old. I don't use oils. Me, you know what I mean? Paula don't. You don't got Paula no more. You still get the
Nobody
Bico.
asked you that. I was
All right,
telling Brother
you have the
Henry that
Bico.
maybe.
You have the Bico. They can still get the thing on the stick, but it's flat.
All right, okay. I tell him Pastor Henry maybe he needs to get 2 of those. He keeps talking about bipolar. So bipolar.
Paula, I know what you mean. I can remember. I can feel tears right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just that the Holy Spirit, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm there and the Holy Spirit drop these thoughts in my head and I'm saying, Lord, help us to find some way to implement them, because the problem, we have to move from the old system, whether there was COVID or not. We have to move from the old system of knocking on door, handing out gospel tracts, and understand where the young people are at. They are online, they are on the internet, and we have to get there to meet the young people, and we have to win them there, and we have to educate them there, and we have to make them the strong Christians they're supposed to be in the society, right on the internet.
Yeah. But there's a group called the Every Home for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
They are now producing tracts that you could present like that.
Read online.
You send it WhatsApp to your friends, and that's
right.
all it is. I did a missions conference for the family church there, where we visited while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I challenged them from the virtual platform how they could do things differently, and to challenge their young people, in leading the pack. Because when you read Barna, the research guy in the United States, and he tells you about millennials and how they have fastly fallen away from church life, and they're the new platformists of atheists and atheistic beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the question, why are our young people, the young people in our congregation, not up to it to challenge them? And so we have to create that environment, that platform,
mm-hmm.
to build that kind of confidence in our young people. Stand with them, work with them, push them out front, support them. That's in order to take the message out. Because the way they speak, I don't speak that language anymore. I had the case where I had to speak to a secondary school here, and I gave my speech to my daughter, and she said, "Dad, you're not in church, and the language here, they're gonna boo you." And she walked me through how to do the swagger and how to do this and that, and see me going into the bathroom before the mirror, preparing myself. And when I walked in that morning with my swagger and thinking, "Man, you hear them young people?" I said, "Oh yeah, got it." And I think that is what is going to bring our young people alive, in what we do. And we can, from this platform, achieve that objective. I'm confident of it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
And on the note of the speech, Reverend Boyce, I'm going to close off now. On the note of the language, it hit me a few years ago that, I didn't know anything about the language. Here's a young man who used to come to church. And one day I met him in Port of Spain, talking to him and so on, invite him to church. And he said, "Pastor, I can't come to church, man. I had too much ghosts. I had too much ghosts." And so I am thinking that he picked up the Holy Ghost talk from church. So what he's telling me is that he has too much Holy Ghost, so there's no need for him to come to church. So I go on now telling people in church, telling some of the young people about this guy, and they're laughing at me. So, no, he killed too many people. That's what he's telling you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So just imagine if I had gone and talked after that guy and saying, "Lord, I have ghosts."
Oh yeah.
So the language, we have that's where we have to start there. We have to start there. We have to see where they are. We have to start there. And I believe that the method, when Jesus Christ said to the apostles, "Go and teach all nations," that's where it lies.
Yeah,
Mark says to go and preach, but I think that it lies in teaching, if you do not impact people's minds, and I think this is the point I was making earlier on, because when you have received information and you know the information works for you and you give it to somebody else and they don't accept that information and make it work for them, it hurts you. But when you see people respond to it, it brings a joy into your life.
A joy.
Yes.
And all that comes into what Paul to the church at Ephesus in Ephesians 4, equip.
That's right.
The saints.
So that they would do the
Equip.
work.
Equip. That's the key word.
So thank you everybody for joining us this evening, and thank you, the planning team. We're gonna be getting together to put some programs together for the first quarter of 2022 and trying to get as many of you panelists. Reverend Boyce, we're gonna be pulling you in and trying to get as many as the professionals to assist us in presentation of the gospel. And we will talk some more about expansion, because that's what I'm all about. We'll talk more about expansion. Dr. Sutherland, over to you.
Well, it is 9:07. Thank you everybody for joining us. We do pray that you have a blessed holiday season. We pray that in the midst of pulling down the house and getting the bleaching stones and cooking the ham and the turkey and color coordinating the house. Oh my goodness, I went to Marshall's today and I was like, oh, to live in the US, it would be fantastic to have a red and white house. Please do remember the reason for this season is to celebrate the birth of Christ, our Redeemer, and what he was purposed in this earth to do. So do not let the season go by with eating the ham and, having the sorrel and the ginger beer and not reflect on the fact that, this babe was born to save us and to redeem us to Christ. We look forward to seeing you in 2022. Please be safe, observe the protocols, social distance, have fun, but reflect as well. See you in 2022. This is another year of real talk, family life, building shatterproof families, one brick at a time. Good evening, everybody.
Happy Christmas, man.